Hi guys, I'm Claire from Est1987 and today we're joined by the lovely boys from General Fiasco. So hi guys, how's it going? You've been on tour now for a couple of nights, so it's midpoint in the tour. How's it gone so far? Are you enjoying sort of life on the road?
Yeah, it's great. We haven't really been out since last October, and Glasgow's always good, and Newcastle we haven't been in about almost 2 years, and both were a real treat, so I think it's just nice to be out playing again with people and playing new music, so it's good.
Obviously Owen and Enda, you guys are brothers. Is it nice being on the road with family, or is it a bit of sibling rivalry going on?
I don't think there's any rivalry.
Speak for yourself.
It's just sort of, I suppose we probably just sort of get used to one another. And we don't really think about it too much. We don't fight, so it's
You don't really
not
act too much like brothers. You
No,
don't really.
yeah, or look like brothers really.
Are we brothers?
You guys have gone from a 3-piece to a 4-piece. How's that kind of changed the dynamic of General Fiasco? Does it kind of give a bigger sound?
Yeah, I think it's made it easier. Sort of achieving a change in dynamic. We kind of, I suppose, whenever it was 3 of us, just tried to be as loud as we could for as long as we could. Just, I suppose, because
Try and fill out the sound.
you're sort of slightly insecure about sounding big, but yeah, and it's just another instrument that you can write different melody parts, and it's great.
Play off one another.
You guys are from a small village in Northern Ireland. How has growing up there affected the shaping of the band and how you write your music, and does it still affect you guys now?
I don't really know. I guess whenever you're from like a small town, we didn't have like any sort of like band rivalry. I guess like if in bigger cities there'll be, you sort of be competing against the bands who are around you and playing at the same time. And we didn't really have that, and we sort of got noticed quite early on, so we never really got sucked into anything like that when we moved to Belfast. So I think, the bands that we sort of like were trying to like compete with were bands that we listened to on the radio and bands that we seen on TV. So that was the kind of the standard rather than your mate's band. So it's like just give you something a bit bigger to work towards rather than being better than your mate.
Your album Buildings was released back in 2010, and since then you've decided to release EPs as opposed to another full album. Why did you decide to do that, and when can we expect the next album?
And the reason being, basically, it had been a while since we released music, and we've been just writing and recording, so we had a lot of material kind of gathered up, and instead of doing a single, we just released 4 tracks. Just as a means of giving people new music, and also just trying to get awareness of the band out there again before we try and release a long player, and that'll probably be in the end of May or June, before summer anyways. I'm not sure yet. Around that time.
I think it makes the shows easier to play new stuff if you release an EP of 4 new tracks. So you can go out and play 4 tracks that aren't off your first album that people will, if you're into the band, will know. And it just makes that. Whereas if we had came out and had sort of released 2 singles, but played 8 new songs, it'd be like 6 songs where people would be like, oh, I've never heard this before. It just makes the gig easier as well, I suppose.
Your first single back in 2008 was called Rebel Get By. What's the most rebellious thing you guys have done?
Story that springs to mind from our last tour, but I don't know.
I think people like to tell stories like that to try and make it sound. I think we're happy enough just to let those things just keep it to yourselves.
But if
What happens up to a stage?
I sort of.
Leave it all for the book.
if it does make you feel better, there was probably, I would say, you felt despair for 2 days. Is that close to it? After that, so despair. So that was the aftermath of it. So yeah.
You're now signed to Dirty Hit Records with some other great bands like Little Comets, Benjamin Francis, Left Witch. Is it nice being part of that roster? I guess it's a bit like sort of a family.
We all get along. We all kind of know each other and know the other bands, and we all kind of we see each other around and get along. It's quite nice. We all respect each other. We respect them. We don't respect us, but we hope they do.
We came down and we saw you guys headline the BBC Introducing Stage at Leeds Festival last year. So what have you got planned for this summer? More festivals? Have you got another tour planned?
Festivals are cool because you get to see bands that you don't normally see, and then there's usually like a few like big bands that you kind of like really admire. It's just nice to sort of like be walking about and seeing like these like your heroes, just walking about, just doing normal shit stuff.
And finally, guys, who have you been listening to while you've been out on the road? Who should we be checking out?
I think it's like, because your music tastes are constantly changing, it's always just like little bits of everything, but it's kind of, it always feels like a bad move saying which bands inspired you, because then it's easy for other people to go, well, it sounds a bit like that and it sounds a bit like that. So I don't really want to say.
Thanks for that, guys. I've been Claire, they've been General Fiasco, and you're watching Established 1987.